All right, welcome everybody to Thursday night, and it's plan showing time. We're going to talk to you about how to show the plan on Thursday night each and every week. Sometimes we have somebody show the plan live, and you can see how they do it themselves, whether it be using the PowerPoint. Last week we did a great one with Jason Pierre and Darwin Larson and myself. We talked about how to show it, on Zoom and also in person with the PowerPoint. And different strategies on that. Tonight, we're just going to talk about one strategy to show the plan, and that is showing the business plan with a flip chart. With a flip chart. Whenever you registered in the business, everybody got a flip chart in your folder, and it kind of works this way. You have a flip chart, and that's the business. It's essentially the same slides on the flip chart that are in the full unfranchised business presentation slideshow, but it's in a flip chart format. So that's what we have right here. So just giving you guys some advice and tips on the flip chart, and then I'm going to let Maleva chime in. First thing I'm going to tell you, that's the most important thing, is anytime you show the plan, you have to be excited and you have to bring the energy. I always tell people, and Jason actually said this last week, he said, when you get on a presentation with someone, your energy is either going to lift them up, or their energy is going to bring you down. Somebody's going to win that battle, and you need to be on top every single time. You need to set the pace of the call. Now, don't be so over the top energy that you scare people away too. You have to be based, but you have to be balanced out. But realize it's all about energy. I almost scared Art away the first time. He was like, man, this dude's a little full of it. I got a little excited. But the reality of it is, you want to, by the way, when you're in person, it's easier because people can feel your energy is authentic. Sometimes online, it's a little tough. We're going to talk about in-person presentations using a flip chart tonight, because listen, as we start rolling out of COVID slowly, and depending on where you're at, if you're practicing social distancing properly, wearing a mask and stuff like that, using your hand sanitizer, staying safe, you want to start doing these one-on-ones and two-on-ones as soon as you can. You want to start doing these one-on-ones and two-on-ones as soon as you can. And by the way, we do have those masks coming. So we have the black masks coming with the Shop Annuity logo on the front. So if you want a shopping annuity logo, so every time somebody looks at your face, you got the shopping annuity right there. I got them coming from my cousin at $8 or $9. I don't know. But I'll have them in the next week. And it's going to be another 6 months where our state's going to require it. So why not use it as a marketing tool? People's like, what's on your mask? Funny you should ask. And then it becomes a tax deduction. So, but anyway, why not, right, Art? Why not? So anyway, this is our flip chart. Couple tips about the flip chart. Number one, when I do my flip chart presentation, I always have a notepad next to it, okay? It's number one. I want to be excited. I'm going to talk about my story, right? Tell them why I decided to partner with the company, but I'm always going to have a notepad next to it, always. Good job, Cheryl. So I'm always going to have a notepad next to it. Second thing, what I love to do with my flip chart. Now, this has not been done with this one, right? But I like to take my flip chart. I like to cut it up into individual pages and then either put it in plastic sheets in like a three-ring binder where it's in order in plastic sheets, or you could just go get it laminated and they can bind it in a ring binder and it'll last forever. But I love it in lamination or binded sheets, and here's why. When you get to these certain pages in here, right, on the slides of the presentation, right, notice that they're clear and white, right? So you can actually show how the BV flows with a dry erase marker, right? And then wipe it off when you're done the presentation. So you can almost do like a hybrid presentation with the flip chart and draw on it at the same time. I actually grew up in the business showing a plan 2 ways for my first 5 years. We didn't have a PowerPoint at that. I either drew it out, is how I learned, and then a little bit into when I started, they came out with the first flip chart. It wasn't nearly as pretty as this, not even close, right? It wasn't nearly as professional as this one, but we used it with little, and we drew it out. And even at that time, it said it actually had the names blank, and you would write the person's name in it to give it some life in there. I would even recommend doing that now. Write their name right over top. All right, this is going to be you, Bill. This is, you know what I mean? And you could do that. So you can have that, and then when you're done, you just, go through the slides, just a little, whatever, cleaner or drier, a dry erase, little eraser, whatever you want to do, and clean it up. All-purpose concentrate and the little spray bottle works perfect, by the way. So, you know, that's good. So that's that. So separate it, set it up in there, have yourself the thin ones, by the way, the thin dry erase ones, and then do it that way. What's neat about this is it works. Well, here's what I love. And the reason why I really, really like my favorite way to show the plan one-on-one or two-on-one is drawing it out personally. My second favorite way is with a flip chart. My third is with the PowerPoint. Now, when it comes down to unfranchised presentations and home kickoffs and UBPs, my first is the PowerPoint. And then the second and third, you know, it's just, you always have to do the PowerPoint that way. But when it's a one-on-one, two-on-one, I'd prefer drawing it out first and then a flip chart second and then the PowerPoint third, simply because this. When I have this in a 3-ring binder, and let's just say I'm talking to someone and they just want to focus on cosmetics, or they just want to focus on certain things, or maybe they've never heard about multi-level marketing, I can actually, before the presentation, if it's a sheet, I can take the 3-ring binder and pop a couple pages out and adjust the size of my presentation so I don't get distracted. Does that make sense? I can take certain ones out that I don't need to talk about for that particular presentation for a first look. Remember, you don't have to show them every single piece of everything the first look, because they have to see it 2 or 3 times anyway. And when they see an official second look unfranchised presentation, they'll see the full presentation and that'll fill in all the gaps, right? So that's another thing you can do. What I like to do too is when I'm showing it, I only like to show them 1 page at a time, right? This is another reason why I like to draw it, because when I go here, if I open it up and had 2 pages like this, and I'm talking up here, human nature and curiosity, they all go down here and start reading while you're talking up here, and now they're not listening, and you're losing some of their attention. That's one of the reasons why I like to draw it, because they can't read beyond your pen, right? Mm-hmm. But in this situation, when I'm showing it, I'll make sure if I have it, and that's why I like doing it laminated in a bound laminated, because I can turn it all the way, and I'm only showing them 1 page at a time, and I'm guiding them with my finger or my dry erase marker. So that's another tip on showing it with the flip chart as well. A couple other things. The only problem, this is the reason why it's good to have the marker, is it doesn't show, like when you draw it out, you show how the BV flows up 100%. When the PowerPoint runs the slides, it shows how the BV flows up. On this one, though, it doesn't show it animated flowing up. That's another reason why I like having it in plastic sheet bound sheet or plastic sleeves or whatever in a binder, so I can show on the slides how the BV flows up, and it credits everybody 100%. The last tip I'm going to make, and I'll turn it over to Maleva and have her give me some tips, is I always like to if you'll notice, the PowerPoints, the official PowerPoints, don't have horizontal versus vertical anymore, right? I like to show that on a first look. So I'll have the flip chart here, but I will do what we're not, the horizontal and the vertical, on a separate page, just to show them the concepts of what makes us different. So then when I go through the presentation, they're ready and they're curious to understand why what I said works, and they really want to understand it more. So I like to use that. And I also like to write down the disadvantages of horizontal and the advantages of us, and line out all the disadvantages that I show them what makes us different. So it's a process elimination that on that sheet, on my, separate legal pad, they can see that all the disadvantages of horizontal that we got rid of, we're lining them out during the presentation. So there's something really powerful about that and psychological when they see how that works. So that's some of my favorite tips on showing a plan with the flip chart. Maleva.
Yeah, I love what Don said. I do the same. I don't just carry the flip chart. I like to have a sheet of paper, back of a napkin, back of a menu, like legal pad, whatever it is that you have on you, so you can kind of illustrate and make it real for them as you walk through this. This is nice because it kind of helps keep you on task to cover major concepts. But listen, we talk about 3 different ways to show the plan because it's important to know them. One, to draw it out means that you actually know what you're talking about. Because if you're drawing the plan from scratch, it means you're understanding your business, which is really important because that builds our belief, right? When you have the flip chart, it's great because, in this day and age, people meeting at coffee shops or however we're meeting now in this like new socially distant world, whatever, it's easy to pull this out of a purse, pull this out of a laptop bag, and just page through it very casually than it is to like set up a PowerPoint and like do the USB thing and then find somewhere to plug it in and all of that stuff that comes along with the PowerPoint. It's important to know how to show the PowerPoint, like Don said, when you're doing like the presentations like we've been doing through Zoom, or when you're doing small kickoffs in the home when we get back to that. It's important to be able to show all of those things. So it's kind of like a progression. But the reason I bring that up is, listen, at the end of the day, the best way to show the plan is to show it. Like a lot of what we're talking about, you're not going to get all the first time, and that's okay. So kind of erase perfection. There is no perfect way to show the plan when you first start. The perfect way is to actually show it, because it's kind of like, if you're in aesthetics school and learning how to be an esthetician, you don't really start putting all the pieces together until you actually start getting hands-on, doing the facial manipulations, using the tools. Then once you start doing all of those things, the theory that you learn starts to click into place, right? And so it's the same thing with showing the plan. When you actually start showing the plan, the things that we've talked about and you've been picking up over the time doing these Zoom trainings with us are going to start clicking into place. Oh, that's why Don does it that way. Oh, that's why he told me to have a pen and paper. Oh, that's why Maleva always starts with like asking questions, because it starts to sink in when you're actually doing it. It's that experiential learning.
So you guys know too, with that, it's important. And what makes you learn it even faster is when you're ready, guys. You're ready to start showing a plan. The best part is just do it tandem with somebody, which means you would just simply say, hey, Maleva, I have a presentation. I want to show the plan, but I need a backup for my first 3 to 5 of them. Like, I want to make sure I have somebody there as my backup, as my color commentator, or just we can do a tandem presentation. I'll lead it, but I'll ask you to chime in, or maybe every other slide we can do. Because when you're doing it and you start teaching it, you'll notice at spots where you'll get caught up, which we'll then clarify, and you'll remember it when we say something where you got tripped up a little bit, but they won't know you got tripped up because we make it seem like that was just our part. You know what I mean? So it works great when you're showing a plan to just right away, just do it tandem. It works good. And by the way, it keeps people's attention because they're not just listening to one person the whole time. That's why, like when Steve shows a plan, sometimes he says everything so right most of the time, but just to have a different voice jump in there, I'll just think of something to talk about just for a minute, just to break it up for the 45 minutes or whatever, break it up a few times so it's more than just one single voice, where you know how the human ear can just kind of get mute to it a little bit, especially on technology. So just have somebody there to back you up. Same thing with in-person presentations. JR still says to this day, I don't show the plan one-on-one. I always do it two-on-one. JR, the CEO of the company, never shows a one-on-one. He always brings somebody with him, Andrew or somebody else, because it's easier. And this is how he explains it. If I want to make a really good point, and I'm showing a plan to Art in this example, and I want to make a really good point. If I say, Art, isn't that incredible? Right? Like, isn't that part incredible? It's almost like I'm pitching Art a little bit. But I can say, Andrew, isn't that the most incredible part of this business? And Andrew agrees. So now I said it to Andrew or Maleva, that's sitting with me as my partner. She agrees. I didn't put Art on the spot. I wasn't pitching Art. I was talking to my partner there, and we communicated together. We edified the point we wanted to make, but I didn't pitch Art on the point, but he heard me say it to somebody else. It's just less invasive to do it that way, and that's another reason why you want to do meetings when you have two-on-ones. To this day, my goal is to always have somebody with me. Now, I don't always have it now, but I want to as often as I can.
Absolutely. Think of it like, anybody ever teach a kid to ride a bike? Like when you're teaching your kid to ride a bike, aren't you the one that's mainly driving the bike in the beginning while the kid's just kind of sitting there, right? Seeing what you're doing. And then all of a sudden you start like letting go of the reins. And then you're just kind of holding the seat while the kid's going and he's like pedaling himself. And then all of a sudden you let go and the kid doesn't even realize it. They're just like going, right? So that's like the process of showing the plan tandem. It's like, in this process, you kind of let us, the senior partners, do the work in the beginning while you kind of watch and experience it. And then you start to take over a little bit. And pretty soon you're going to be like, get out of my way. I can do it without you, but it's great to have you as backup. It's great to know that the parent's still there, right? Even if they're like a mile away.
Another thing is keep control of the flip chart too. Don't let them grab the flip chart and start. I've had this happen to me before, where somebody grabs a flip chart, they start doing this. And they start looking ahead, right? You keep control of the flip chart, right?
Yeah.
Like I keep my hand on it, and I like, and because I'm using my finger point. But if they like try to grab it, I'll like put my hand on it, I'll push down, and then if they try to grab it, I'll just pull it back to me, right? I mean, I'm controlling. This is my piece of. It's another reason why I like to draw it, by the way, because nobody can grab it and try to read in front of what I'm writing. You know, just it eliminates all those things. But at the same time, it's a great tool for you. And it makes it look simple and duplicatable. The only challenge with the flip chart I see is that Art can tell you, but anybody that's been in marketing and sales knows that this is commonly known as a pitch book, right, in business. So when you hear the term pitch, we call it a flip chart, but it's commonly known in sales or business as a pitch book. So when people see something like this come out, it almost like it has a sense that they're being pitched something or sold something. Now, again, it's fine. I use it for second look sometimes, first look sometimes, you know, second follow-up meetings and stuff. It's fine. It doesn't matter. You know, you just tell them, I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm using this flip chart because it helps guide me. I'm just having you evaluate it, you know, so you can eliminate it up front. But again, that's just one thing that you have to overcome a little bit with a formatted presentation book like this.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like Don said, this is what I usually use for my second look. So the first time I'm sharing it with someone, a lot of times it just comes up in casual conversation. And I'm like, okay, well, let me kind of show you a little bit about what I do. Because I do a lot of like rapport meetings one-on-one with people that I network with. And so that's when I draw it out. The follow-up is when I bring this just so it has some visual, like it has some pictures for them to look at, especially when it gets to like talking about product. I can talk about some of like my favorite product as we go along, you know, that's not on the visual when I draw it out. So when I first draw it out, it's great because it keeps it very like clean and systemized. They can kind of follow the process. And then this comes with the visual. We start to put some of those puzzle pieces together, you know? But as far as like tips with using it, for me, I'm all about like, we're very much a relationship driven business. So when you control your appointment, I love to ask questions because it's impossible to personalize the plan to someone if you don't know them personally. Like if you don't get a little bit. And that's why even like I've talked to myriad and people I've shown the plan list. I'm like, tell me a little bit about them. Like, what's their background? What do they do? You know, do they have kids? I want to know those things about them because then as we go along, I can, you know, bring their personal experiences into this. I can maybe bring like their family into it. Or I can bring their business background or whatever, their career path, whatever it is. So I can kind of liken it to something that makes sense to them versus it just being about, hey, the business presentation, because that draws people in. People want to know like, hey, what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for them is that they're evaluating, yes, for you, but we're creating like this environment where they might see the benefit for themselves, even if it's just, you know, as a customer learning to never pay full retail again. So the more you can bring them into your world when you're showing the business, whether it's through drawing the plan, whether it's the flip chart, you know, whether it's the presentation like PowerPoint format, the better. And I would say like that's a skill to really focus on because at the end of the day, like the plan's the plan. The plan sells itself. Like you don't have to sell or pitch the plan. And like the plan will do the work. People will buy you before they buy the business. So your job is to connect with them. And if you can connect with them and then share the business basics while you're connecting them, that's all the better because you've given them value by like showing them that they matter, you know, in the time that you sat down with them. So I know maybe that wasn't tips directly with using the flip chart, but I just think those are great tips in general when building the business with someone because you do want to create that relationship with them.
Yeah, that's vital. Really important. And that's, I can't show them. You guys have all seen me do it. I got to take first 5 or so minutes and ask them about themselves and what their background is and what they've done, and just build some rapport and try to create some kind of commonality between us, some kind of common ground. Earlier today, I was on a radio show tonight with one of Maleva and I's partners on her other side of her business, and great guy. He's in his real estate radio show in South Florida, and he really loves our debt shredder program through Mark Merrick. So he's recommending that through his radio show. He's a real estate investor, and he has a real estate investment show, and he loves the platform. Art, that's for you, from what your background is, brother. That might be something that you might fall in love with. We should probably get you some details on that. I think that would be right up your alley, man. It's a really neat tool, and it's something that you can really kind of fall in love with from a financial standpoint. So I'll send you some details on that. But nonetheless, we were live on his radio show, but we were also live on Facebook at the same time. We were telling all of his listeners about this debt shredder and the opportunity behind it too, because he's in the business. So, but one guy was in there, and he was he noticed, he mentioned, we were having people say who their name and where they're from, and the guy was from Memphis, Tennessee. And I said, brother, I saw the guy's name. I can't remember his name was, but I said, oh man, whatever from Memphis is on. By the way, I just have to make a quick point. One of my favorite barbecue places on planet Earth is on Beale Street in Memphis, called The Pig on Beale. And it is amazing. So next time I come into town, bro, we're going to meet up there and talk real estate at The Pig and have some barbecue. Just find some kind of commonality that makes them comfortable with you. It really goes a long way. And it also makes it fun. Like, here's the thing for me. If I'm not having fun during the presentations, I'm not doing it. You guys notice I'm picking on joking around with Marion and Art and Maleva and Cheryl. I'm always doing that because if I'm not having fun, nobody else is, and I'm just all uptight. I want to have fun. And hey, if no one's interested, I at least got a laugh out of myself. And, I used to have to really try to get Art to smile. Now he can do it pretty often now. But man, I was like, man, my first meeting that Joel had Art on, I was like, my only goal for that whole meeting was nothing more than just to get Art to smile back at one of my jokes. That was like my whole goal for that. It didn't matter if he wanted to get into business. I just wanted him to smile back at one of my jokes because he was like very serious, And
that's so powerful.
Big
Listen,
teddy bear,
like,
though. Look at him. He's just a big teddy bear now, though.
There's so much we have to do in this life that's not fun. Like, this business has to be the fun. Like, you have to figure out how to make it fun. And that was something, honestly, I struggled with in the beginning. Not that I didn't believe in what we did, and not that I didn't value our products and love the business plan. But for me, I felt like I had to be someone different. I was like, I'm like business owner, entrepreneur, Maleva now, so I have to be serious. And if you've ever seen me show any plans or interact with me, like, I'm just not that person. And so I wasn't having fun. So the people I was sharing the business with wasn't very successful, because it's like, well, if you're not enjoying it, why would I want to look or enjoy it? And so at the end of the day, I just had to take that hat off and be like, I don't need to be anybody else other than myself, and genuinely show my enthusiasm with our business and our products and what I want and the vision, like cast that vision onto someone else, where you're going. Like, don't worry about not being where you want to be yet. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, cast the vision of where you're going. Like, no one that ever did great things was because they were there right then and there. They cast their vision and they knew where they were going, and people wanted to latch onto that. People wanted to follow, because they, by going forth and knowing what they wanted and going to achieve it, like, drew other people into that and made them feel like, wow, I really want to achieve my dreams too, because he's going for it, so I'm going to go for mine. And so I really do see this as a vehicle for that.
Right. Another quick tip too. With the flip chart, it makes it really, really easy to bring to trial size marketing. Grab your daily essentials, grab your trim tee, grab your Turn Up is an awesome product right now. 2 or 3 of them. And when you go, you can just stick it inside the flip chart, right? You can just pop them right in the back, right? Towards the back of it. Just stick 2 or 3 across the top. Like, it fits right in there, right? And as you're flipping, right when you get towards the end, oh, here's some samples for you. You want to give a trial size every single time you meet somebody. Obviously, we haven't been able to do that on Zoom, but you should be mailing them a couple trial sizes to get people to try the product. So you want to give a trial size. Like, I like 2 or 3 daily essentials, 2 or 3 Turn Ups,
They're great care packages.
Yeah, you can send them a care package.
Mailbox.
Yeah. Yeah, just give out trials, man. That's a great way to get people interested. So, but that's pretty much it for us. You guys have any questions? I do have to be done in 2 minutes. So do you guys have any questions we can address in regards to this or anything we talked about?
I have a question. Did we have anybody that shows us the plan in Spanish?
I can,
There she is. I was waiting.
Cindy. I can. I've been practicing. I had to practice on my friend because I started telling her in English, and she says, "Just tell me in Spanish. I understand better." I was like, "Oh my God, put on the spot."
Yeah.
But, that's how I knew that I know my stuff because
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So
Love it.
I'll tell you what we'll do is this. In 2 weeks, let's give Miriam let's give her 2 weeks to practice, and we'll do a Spanish Zoom presentation. How about 2 weeks from the night, Miriam, on Thursday night for plan showing Thursday, we'll have you show the plan in Spanish. How's that sound?
All right.
We'll plug people into that.
You good? There's a Spanish flip chart too. So
That's why I said, "Is there a flat Spanish flip chart that I can
there's a
follow?"
Spanish PowerPoint. So we'll get you the Spanish PowerPoint. And so there you go. 2 weeks from, not next Thursday, but the Thursday after.
Okay. And then I just had another question about Saturday. Is there room at Steve Turner's to watch the local there?
Yeah, Cindy, where do you live?
I live about 50 minutes north
I
of
believe
him.
so. Yeah, I know Miriam's coming.
I just need an address. I messaged him, but I didn't hear back. I don't know
Yeah,
if he goes on there.
send it to me. I'll get it to you.
Okay. That'd be great.
I'm trying to get Art to bring his helicopter.
Hey,
Don't laugh.
Art's got to bring his helicopter.
where are you, Art? Where do you live?
Connecticut.
In Connecticut.
Oh,
Close enough. Come down and meet Joel and come down and hang with us that day. It doesn't start till 11.
Well, my daughter lives in Philadelphia, so.
Oh, there you go.
oh, right on.
Let's go see
Well,
her.
she lives in Glenside.
Yeah. Oh, that's
If
I
anyone
would
knows
have-
anyone in Berks County, Reading, I'm hosting at my house.
Yeah, there you go.
Where are we?
I gotta roll. Miriam, you and I have a meeting, don't we?
Yes,
I'll text
I just messaged you.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'll let you
Art,
go.
Art, go ahead. Art, go ahead. You had a question.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, I haven't seen a second look since my own. So, I don't know what the protocol is to get in on one of those.
Okay, so
Tomorrow at 2.
the
Tomorrow.
unfranchised presentation. Yeah, Maleva's doing one tomorrow at 2:00. So all a second look is, Art, is this. When I do a first look, it's a first look where it's a flip chart, a PowerPoint, a short or whatever. The Tuesday night business plan presentations are unfranchised presentations. They're second looks.
Yeah, I've been there, but the only ones I've seen there actually have been first looks, I think.
Well, so it's the
So-
same presentation. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
same thing. It's just sometimes it's a little more detailed. A second look is a little more detailed on the money side and less introductory stuff because it's more in the meat and potatoes. That's why they're a little shorter, 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, well,
But
I
you
gotta
mean
get
like
the
a
first
follow-
look first, but
Right. Most
Yeah.
of the time, people want to see the first look, and then the first look should be to me, it should be 45 solid minutes of a full presentation with the numbers. Second look, about 30 minutes going through the numbers primarily and answering some questions and guiding them a little bit. Or if it's a larger presentation, then we just go, less
Okay.
on the concepts, more on the meat.
okay.
But then on follow-up meetings, I like doing follow-up meetings where we're just answering questions and asking, and we're highlighting certain points based upon their questions. I'll let you know when we do a couple more of them with Steve and Maleva and any of us. You can jump on those too, Art. Just be a fly on the wall, bro.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
You're
Maybe you're doing tomorrow at 2, though?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Just message us, guys. I got to end this because I got to get
Yeah.
another Zoom. But great
Okay,
job.
thank you.
Thank you all so much. Have a great